right, and we are back again for Husky Huddle. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully, and we have the return of the icon himself, the legendary voice of the Huskies, the best of the best, Joe D'Ambrosio. Joe, welcome back to us.
Call Shoe, good morning. It's great to be back with the band. Good to have the Beatles back together, and looking forward to a great year talking football and basketball.
Yes, absolutely. And Coach Schumann still saying yes to greatness.
That's it. That's how we do it. Hey, listen, Joe. Steve told me that the '95 team they're going to honor this year or something.
They are. Yeah.
He was telling me so. I guess 8 wins gets it done.
It probably does. It probably does. No, I think it's, I think as we go through and UConn kind of, I don't want to say regenerates itself, but it's a different era than it was when you boys were there. That's an understatement. I mean, to be honest with you, it's even a different era than when I was there, and that's only 7 years ago now. So I think paying respect to the past is a big deal. And respecting your history is important because people shouldn't just think that football began when Coach Morrow got there. People should understand there were people like our late friend Coach Jackson and Coach Holtz and Coach Edsel and Coach Pasqualoni, even Coach Diaco, which pains me to say. We have to remember that things just didn't start now. Just like basketball didn't start with Coach Hurley. There was even before Coach Calhoun, there was great basketball there. Now the women basically started with Gino,
right?
But I think it's important that a school like UConn respects its heritage and reminds people that there was a greatness long before the current era.
Yeah, Coach Baylock's been doing a great job with that. He's been trying to honor teams or honor players at every home game or have special captains for the home games. He really does a great job keeping in touch with everyone and trying to bring.
He's phenomenal. Nobody better than Coach Bales.
There's nobody better. There was nobody better. And he showed me a picture the last time I was up there with the coaching staff he was with Sam Ritigliano, Lou Holt, and a couple other guys that all went on.
Rick Forzano, former coach of the Lions. Yeah.
Yep, that was him. Yep.
Yeah, Dan Sakanovich. Yeah, that was a legendary coaching staff.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I had no idea that they had that caliber of coaches there, and he was part of it. And he said the only reason he didn't move around was because he loved baseball. He wanted to do both.
Which he still pitches batting practice to this day at age 87 or 89 or whatever.
For Eastern,
and Hardy's 60.
And Hardy's 60. Yeah. At Eastern, right? Doesn't he help out at Eastern?
He pitches Eastern and he pitches in the Futures
League
with
Norwich
Sea Unicorns.
That's so cool. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how you stay up.
He's always active. He's always there too. He's amazing. And he remembers he can remember every play that happened. You give him a year, you give him a game, he can tell you exactly what happened.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? His recall is astonishing.
It is. And so we were talking about the team, and he showed me when I was up there, the players' lounge, everything that has been redone. The players don't have to move. There were just bodies everywhere because they were, just starting practice. And from the scrimmage yesterday, they've had a lot of guys who were banged up. So they held out. They held out a lot of players, especially defensively. So, Joe, I was going to ask you because the defensive line was my main position of concern. They brought in some transfers that should really pay off. I think Ben Smiley will be good. And then I think it was Vincent Carroll Jackson is one of the returners. but they brought in the Stephen Wright, who's transferred 3 times, and he played at Texas Southern last year. They brought in a couple guys from Nebraska as well. That's my concern right now for their position-wise, because it's always been our strong point. We've had very good defensive linemen, and I have concerns this year, and I wanted to get your thoughts.
Well, I think, Steve, and Shu, when you're in this era of the transfer portal and guys are coming in up till the first day of practice,
Yeah.
you really don't know what's going to happen. Now, Matt Brock did a terrific job with the defense last year, but as you said, the line gutted by graduation.
Yeah.
And I think in the scheme that they run in that 3-3-5, it's important that you get 6, 7, maybe even 8 defensive linemen who can play, because then you rotate guys in and keep them fresh. And I think the Central game, not to diminish Central, because I think they'll do well in their league, but I think the Central game will be a real area of finding out who plays well with whom, who mixes well, because then you go to Syracuse, and that
Yes.
won't be an easy landing spot.
No.
At the Carrier Dome, or whatever the hell they call it now. I know it's not the
No.
Carrier Dome anymore,
No,
because
I know.
we're not investing in air conditioners up at Syracuse, I guess.
We're out.
But I think I will say this, with the talent it appears that they have on offense, and you can never know about injuries, but I would think with the talent they have on offense, if they can hold teams to 24 points, they should win most games, because I think they'll score. I think they'll score quite a bit. And that's incumbent on Joe Fagnano staying healthy.
And Dave, I agree. Remember, I said the same thing when we were talking about the offense. I think they're going to be much more explosive with the running backs they have. I think that tight end group is great. And they brought in just a slew of wide receivers. So I think the same thing. They're going to be more explosive. They're not going to be scoring 17, 21 points a game. I think they're going to be scoring 35 plus if they get rolling. And like Joe said, they keep Joe standing upright.
But I think the big thing too is that they have a much better situation from a quarterback standpoint. Meaning, last year when we were talking about it at this time or shortly after this, we didn't know what the situation was going to be. We were going with we were going to be dual threat with the transfer from Wisconsin,
Nick Evers.
Nick Evers. And so we didn't know. We led with him for a long time. He got hurt. He kind of didn't. They didn't know exactly who they wanted to be on offense with him, or they did, and it just wasn't working the way they wanted it to. And then we went to Joe Fagnano, which is really a situation where it's gives you the ability to less worry about scheming things for the quarterback as far as run wise and having to read, which and allows you to really focus on the backs to be able to get them the ball in the run game and to throw when you need to throw. And you can do more RPOs with the running backs and the receivers or / tight ends than focus on the QB option game and putting that on the quarterback, which obviously is great if you have just a guy there. But if the guy, I said it last year, if the guy's kind of like pretty good but not elite there, you really can get a lot of problems, because it's not like he's just going to outrun guys when he pulls. So
exactly.
And then he's going to get beat up and hurt, right? So that's really what ends up happening. And I think, in today's college football, even at the team levels that we play, everybody's got fast defensive ends. Everybody's got linebackers that can run. That's changed significantly over the years because of the spread game. So when the QB goes to pull, if he's not really an elite runner, there are guys that can run with him at the college level that can chase him And all that I think you end up doing is you end up getting them beat up, right? You want to pick and choose your spots there. And with Fagnano, you don't have to really worry about that. That allows them to just kind of focus on the other players. And he's a traditional, pro style quarterback. And you can focus on RPOs where you need to, and getting the ball in your playmakers' hands. I think that gives them an advantage, especially in the majority of the level of the teams that they're playing against. As far as I don't even know what you call it. What is it called? Group of four or
They
five?
play the group of five, and they
group of power four and the group of
power four and a group of five. Is that what it is now?
Yeah.
Until next year when it becomes like power three,
power one, and group of 8. When it's the SEC and Big Ten, it's the power 2 and then the group of 7.
Yeah.
We talk about Evers. I would expect them to have a package every game for him. Things to be able to do, because I think, they brought him in, and let's be honest, boys. It's an era where some players, and Nick Evers was one of them, from what I've made to understand, was paid a lot of money to come to UConn.
Right.
Properly. Not illegally, but properly. And it just didn't pan out last year. Well, I don't think he took a pay cut. I still think he's doing well. So you wanna get usage out of him, and he has abilities. He's a good runner. I don't trust his decision making, so I don't think the thing you want to do is give him a lot of pass opportunities. You need some to keep the defense honest, but I think at least once a half, and always in the first half, depending on how the game goes in the second half, I think we'll see Evers come in for a series, maybe 2, and try to exploit his capabilities. I don't think there's any question in my mind that we'll see that happen. Now, I don't want to see him starting on opening day. I want Fagnano to, if I'm a fan, which I am, I want to see Fagnano there behind center, because he's proven that he can get the job done, and it's his 23rd year. So he should be able to, he should be able to make that happen. So I don't think Evers. My point is, I don't think Evers is totally out of the picture.
You think like maybe how about goal line packages? Like Tebow type stuff. Where you run,
absolutely.
You have a one pass option, and type of deal.
Yeah, the only thing about that shoe I don't like is I think when the quarterback handles the ball in that situation on the goal line, this is just a sense, he's always more susceptible to coughing it up.
Yeah.
If I've got a group of running backs like UConn has with Edwards and Brown and almost forgotten Victor Rosa, I'd rather give the ball to my running backs. But we know how coaches like to tinker and play around with things. And Gordon Simmons, the offensive coordinator, is a run guy, because he was he is and was
the line coach,
an offensive line coach, and line coaches like to run the ball. It's easier to run block. Cully, you know this. You can speak to this. It's easier to run block than pass block.
Much easier. It's much more fun, and the running back can always make you right, which is good.
Yeah.
So even if you have a poor block, the running back can find a way to get through or run through an arm tackle. And, we have that MJ Flowers, the Eastern Illinois transfer. I think he is going to be a big piece. He's 6'1", he's 210, he's a bigger back, he gets downhill, he's physical. I just think they need to change some of the running schemes that they had been doing, where they're running outside a lot more, especially when they had Nick in. They tried to do it with Joe, but the backside pursuit was so fast because Joe wasn't a threat to run. Right. So I think we have really, really good tight ends. I love our tight end group. Probably second best, more than as much as the running back group. 3 good running backs, and Victor Rosa, obviously. I love the tight ends. I'd love to see us get into, as Dave and I talked about, 12 personnel, maybe some 21 personnel, and go downhill at teams, because we got the Notre Dame transfer, Ty Chan, who's had a good camp from what I've heard. We have the Remington Award finalist, or he's on the watch list, in Wes Ho, the Syracuse transfer. I think we're going to be good up front.
Yep.
Defenses aren't built to stand up to teams that are 12 personnel, come downhill and bully you. So that's where I think we can get an advantage and knock some people around and just feed Cam, feed Mel, feed Flowers, and obviously Rosa.
Not much time left for Rosa, though, with that group. I'll be curious to see.
I don't think he's going to get much.
Right, I would think he'll be a kick returner,
which they desperately need. Yes,
for them. I think he'll be. I don't know if he's a punt return guy, but I think he's a kickoff return guy who I think they can use. And as you say, they need somebody like that. So, unfortunately, it's kind of been rough for Victor. I mean, he had such a good freshman year, then got hurt, and then kind of got lost in the shuffle because they brought in bigger, faster, stronger.
He did, and he played the majority of the scrimmage on Saturday, and allegedly had a very, very good scrimmage. But that's still not going to do enough to take carries away from Edwards and Brown. Now, Joe, my concern also is the quarterback position for another reason. We don't have a lot of depth there. I believe, we have 3 quarterbacks on the roster scholarship and 1 walk-on. We had Joe Villapiano on a couple weeks ago, coached at Harvard. He said, especially in camp, like we didn't go less than having 6 arms, because you're doing 7-on-7, you're doing team, you're doing multiple teams,
right?
And you need to keep everyone fresh. With 4 quarterbacks, that's tight. And we have the Virginia State Player of the Year in Farrar. I think he could be someone possibly to take over for Fignano next year if Evers doesn't pan out. But that worries me, especially if they're, knock on wood, injury problems to Fignano. We're not going to have a ton of depth behind him.
Yeah, that's kind of that's a good point, Steve. I think, the way and I haven't been to a practice in forever, but you guys could address this better than I can. As you said, you've got all these different, you've got quarterbacks throwing the wideouts and drills with DBs. You've got quarterbacks running the first team offense. You've got quarterbacks running scout team. You want good quarterbacks to do that. And you don't want to wear out your starter during the week. You want to give them just enough work to stay fresh. You don't want to put them in bubble wrap by any stretch, but you also don't want to wear them out. And I think that's a real good point. I think that's got to be a little bit of a concern for Coach Moore and his staff.
Yeah, Dave and I liked that Cole Welliver. Remember Dave, the 6'7" kid, and
transferred out, right,
from Texas, and he ended up transferring to New Mexico. They lost him in the portal. They lost.
Where did he go?
New Mexico.
He was from
Texas. He went to University of New Mexico because he had a chance to start there. And we lost that Jake Triptree, I think his name was, last winter in the portal. I mean, we lost 3 quarterbacks in the portal, and Welliver was someone they gave significant reps to in the spring. So to lose him, I think, was critical. And now, Evers, if he has to play an extended period, he has been injury prone. I mean, he had 3 major injuries last year that kept him out significant time. It was always start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. So he goes down, then you're playing a true freshman. So that was a major concern of mine. And that was another reason why I believe, like I said, 12 personnel, 21 personnel, pound the ball. You're outnumbering the defense. Every defense, especially I looked at defenses for our first few opponents. They're playing that 4-2 style of defense with a nickel as that third linebacker as opposed to a true Sam linebacker. So they're not going to be able to match up with it, or they're going to have to make a personnel change to do so. And right. I love Hunnig, I love Hansen, and I like I said, I love Burton's kid. I've watched him play. I think he adds another dimension. So that's where.
What about the offensive line, Steve? What's your take on them?
I think they're going to be great. I think Ty Chan, the reports on him from coming from Notre Dame, I think he's had, allegedly, from what I have heard, a very good camp. The center, obviously, I think
is always good. Yeah.
The guy I love is the Maryland transfer, Tamarius Walker. He's the shortest. He's 6'3", but I think he is going to fit right in as a starting guard. But they have great offensive linemen. I believe they said they're trying to play Kyle Juergens as well, and they were going to move Cassidy, one of the other guys, out to the guard to one of the other tackles. So it would be Chan and Cassidy at tackle. And with Tamaris, Wes, Ty, I think we can knock people around, and with the good tight ends. So like you said, that's why
the schedule we have is so in our favor.
I know.
The only Syracuse, Boston College, and Duke.
Air Force.
Maybe. Well, Buffalo's not going to be easy. Buffalo, in fact, I did a little work before we jumped on the call. Of all the teams on their schedule, Buffalo is the highest ranked in their conference. Buffalo's ranked 4th in the MAC, and that game is at Buffalo, and that can traditionally be a little bit of a tough place to play. But you look at the others, like Duke is 6th in the ACC, Syracuse is 12th, BC is 13th. Conference USA, Delaware is 6th, FIU is 11th, and then in the MAC, Ball State is 10th. Rice is 14th in their conference. UAB is 11th. And as you mentioned, Steve, Air Force. I mean, realistically, I was talking about this with somebody last night. 8 wins kind of seems like I think the Vegas line is 7.5.
Exactly.
But if you look at the schedule, 9-3 is if you stay healthy, and in football, that's the biggest caveat. But 9-3 is not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, they're bigger program games. Is like you said, Duke, Syracuse, and Boston College. It's not like they're rolling into like an SEC.
They're not going to Tallahassee,
yeah, exactly,
Tuscaloosa, and Texas A&M.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going into one of those places and having to play, even if those teams are ranked lower. It's just it's ACC, and it's and Air Force. Air Force brings an element. They still run the option. I'm guessing they still run the option.
Yes,
Air Force
but they've been down.
Right, yeah. That brings something to the table that can be difficult. Yeah. But if they're able to play that, it's interesting because just with the personnel, Jimmys and Joes of it, like they're Jimmys and Joes. You look at like their roster versus some of these other teams in the group of 5. It's not even like comparable, like the kind of guys they have versus most of those teams, and I think part of it is when I don't know if Jim Moore is a benefit from this. I don't think it's long term a great thing as far as but going forward financially for the football program, not being in a bigger conference, but for wins and losses,
Correct.
they can completely out recruit for the most part a lot of those other group of five. They can offer more than them. We can't offer more than an ACC school, but we can offer more than most of those group of five as far as atmosphere. Now, I'm not even talking about money. I'm talking, even though money we have more than those schools do, but
Right.
but atmosphere wise and campus wise and a lot of those kind of things are certainly in the favor, especially with transfers, which he seems to have like. That's a large focus of what Moore is doing is the transfers,
Yeah.
and I think UConn in football is because of our group of five affiliation is higher up than a lot of those other kids that might go to a group of five. So, like Chan, for example, Notre Dame, he was a backup, wasn't playing that much, comes over a group of five. And now, yeah, he's a 4-star recruit who now comes over to a group of five and is physically bigger than most of the guys in that area. And if he works hard and he'll have a good chance for a lot of success. And I think that's an interesting attraction. And you also are able to attract we're in that situation where we're able to attract the FCS player who has outgrown FCS, right? It's a unique spot. In the long run, financially, it's probably not a good place to be.
Well, I don't think it's sustainable in the long run.
Not at all.
To be honest with you. And the other thing I was going to add you and Culls is, you look at the 6 home games. You've got Central, you've got Ball State, you've got FIU, you've got UAB, you've got Duke, and you've got Air Force. It's not going to bring people into East Hartford.
Correct.
What will bring people in is if you show early on you're going to be a team that puts points on the board.
You got to be excited
and plays a pretty exciting brand of football, whether it's dynamic runs or a over the top passing game or however. You remember when we started this Division I journey 22 years ago in 2003, there were a lot of people who were concerned what kind of crowds we would draw to Rentschler. But what happened was at that time, with Orlovsky as the quarterback, he scored a boatload of points, and people loved that.
A local kid too,
right? People love that. So people were drawn in not just from the lure of we're in Division I, but we're putting up 30, 35 points a game. With this schedule, to appease the public, I mean, yes, winning is everything. Don't get me wrong. And if you go 6-0 at home, that's all well and good. But that doesn't mean if you're 5-0 going in the Air Force and you're scoring 20 points a game, you're going to have a big crowd for the final home game of the year. I think the sustainability of this is difficult, and I think that's why. And we didn't hear any of it this year. Going to going to a Power 4 conference. Remember last summer, everybody was doing handstands. Oh, we're going to get in the Big 12 and, going to play there and do this and do that. And then, as always seems to happen, it's like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. We end up being Roadrunner, getting the rug pulled out from under us, And there was none of that conference realignment talk now. And to be honest with you, boys, I don't know when we're going to hear it again.
Right.
All this talk about, we've had coaches talk about merging the ACC with the Big East. You know who doesn't want to do that? The ACC.
Not at all. Not at all.
Is that because they don't want to share the money? Is that?
Well, I think especially at the football power schools, the only Big East school that would come in for football would be UConn, and it would be bottom of the pack to start. I mean, look at the two stories that resonate with me of teams leaving the Big East, and it's Syracuse too, because Syracuse has done nothing in football since going to the ACC. BC's done even less.
Nobody has.
Rutgers hasn't done jack since joining the Big Ten. So is the money, and I know the answer is yes, but is the money worth having your football program be in the bottom of the league for the next 5 to 10 years? It's a question you got to ask.
Yeah, you're right. Rutgers gets $40 million a year, and they go 5-7 every year, and they're never gonna cross the threshold to.
They're never going to be Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan,
No.
any of those schools.
No, I think that we could, in time, be competitive in an ACC. I think that's the weaker of the Power Four. We
In football, no question.
Most of those schools before. That's where I think we could land and succeed. The issue why nobody wants us because football drives the revenue, the television contracts, and we're not going to come in bringing much to the table because we're just starting to win, but we need that attendance and we need to be a draw for television contracts. And what we have with CBS Network isn't great. We averaged 23,000 a home game last year. That's lower than FCS schools. And the only 2 games we had over 30,000 were, I think, Georgia State and Merrimack. So if we can't get over 30,000, I don't think a Power 4 school will touch us. And we're winning national championships in basketball, and it does us no good. And I always go back to what you said, Joe. When the women won the financial breakdown, the Big East got $650,000 out of the tournament because of the teams we got in, and the SEC dominated, getting more teams in, and they got paid more.
Right.
I think, like you said, sustainability as an independent to raise the money necessary to continue to bring in transfers, to continue to have success. And then a home schedule like the one we have, like I said to you, Joe, when I played and we were moving up, we played up. I mean, we were playing Boston College, Louisville when they were ranked teams. We were playing Miami, Virginia Tech, and we're not getting that now. They're playing teams that they're definitely competitive with and can beat, but I think without having those draws on there or playing tougher competition, that is a hindrance to getting us better and helping to show that we could definitely produce in a bigger conference.
I think so. I think so. Time will tell. Who knows where we'll be 2 years from now? Never mind 5 or 10.
Exactly.
Nobody can predict the college athletics landscape has been so volatile over the last 5 years. It's like trying to make an 8-day weather forecast. It's a waste of time.
Well,
Joe, I wanted to ask you because I didn't.
Boston College averaged 39,000 only. Like, I'm looking at these numbers. Some of these teams are not averaging what you would think they are averaging for their attendance. It's actually.
But don't forget, Boston Alumni Stadium's not that big.
No, I know that. I know. I'm just saying that some of it is not as, like, I'm looking here. Like, Vanderbilt averaged 28,000 a game.
And they had a great year.
In the SEC, like South Florida's 31,000, Colorado State's 33. I mean, I guess my point, ECU, I guess always 37, which isn't bad for. But I think you're right with the offense being more explosive. I mean, we potentially don't have that far to go. We have to get obviously into a conference. We could easily start to fill the stadium if we get into a conference because we're at 23,000, I think it was, or something. Yeah, 25,000. 25,000 we averaged. So I mean, it seems like we're far away, but there's a couple of big opponents, and you're right. Like some of these home games, would have to be with some bigger opponents, right? Or we're going to have to score a lot of points. And but the other, if we did get in a conference, like to me, it was like, wow, we would draw pretty quickly.
I think in the ACC, it's similar to the Big East.
Well, the other problem is Power 4 schools aren't coming to Rentschler Field,
Right.
other than other than the. I mean, look at that. You haven't been able to get Rutgers to come play a non-conference game. They ain't and the coach. Nobody wants to sign these 2-for-1 deals where you've got to go to their place twice and they come to your place once. No,
and
nobody
that's what
wants
we
to
did
sign.
with Duke and Syracuse. We got both 2-for-1, and then we extended the Duke deal. So that doesn't help us. We have to try to get, like Joe said, at least one draw a year for the home games.
They don't want to come to. Yeah, I could see why they wouldn't want to come.
We're an independent. I mean, there's
too many variables unless you were paying them.
Well, you look at. I just loaded this up now. In 2006, you've got Maryland, North Carolina, and Syracuse coming in, so that's pretty good. In 2027, you got Syracuse coming in, but no, you got Temple, Old Dominion, Syracuse, Army, and Delaware. It's I mean that's kind of next year looks like it's a much better year for bringing opponents in.
Okay. Oh, I got you. You're talking about next year in 2020.
Yeah, next year is the one with the Maryland and Belichick and his girlfriend and
Pricey.
Well, at least we're not Akron. They draw 6,000 a game.
Well, those MAC schools. I mean, I don't want to throw stones, but UMass fits right in with those MAC schools.
Oh, and they went back crawling on their knees.
12,000 a game. Oh my goodness.
Well, they were they should maybe they shouldn't have made the jump. That was the biggest thing with them. They tried after they
probably will have to at some point because it seems like every one of these schools are Delaware's now in Division I.
Yeah.
They're all making the jump because they want some of that.
They want
money.
the FBS money.
Yeah.
It's $1 billion industry now.
It's so interesting the difference between when you're talking like the teams that draw 70,000 plus and everybody else, and it's like par for the course almost the top teams in the country.
Well, that's why the SEC wants to control everything. They want to control the playoffs. They want a certain number of seeds because they bring the most money in. They have the most eyes on them. It's the SEC and the Big Ten, and the rest have to get whatever scraps are left over.
And conference is a big deal. Like Rutgers is averaged 48,000 last year, which is basically near capacity for them. And they were 6, 7, and 6 or something like that.
I think they were 6 and 7.
Just being in the big conference, you get all those opponents coming in. People, even if they don't care that much about Rutgers, they want to watch the game versus, I don't know, Wisconsin or Ohio State or Maryland or any of these teams. They're interested in those games, but it's very Maryland struggles with attendance.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, they've been
Stanford struggles with attendance. Duke struggles with attendance.
Well, Stanford's in the ACC now. I mean, come on. Duke's a basketball school, but they've had some success. But that's the thing with us, and I think Joe's right. Is it better to continue as an independent?
You look at what Rutgers did last year for attendance-wise, like you were saying, True. They drew 47,000 at home for Howard, 41,000 at home for Akron, 54,000 for Washington. Washington was home. They drew 50,000 for Wisconsin. They drew 53,000 for UCLA and 47,000 for Illinois. So they didn't even have any of the big teams coming in. and they still drew close to 50,000 for every game. I think of all the schools that left, and West Virginia doesn't count because that was always football country. But I think Rutgers has done the best. I mean, Boston College, there's times that they don't draw flies.
No. And they had that undefeated year where they win the ACC and they don't go to the playoffs. And after that, then last year was just a disaster. So every team that really has left the Big East, even Miami, none of them have had a success as far as like winning a conference championship, going to the playoffs. None of those Big East teams have done that. And even Syracuse. I mean, Syracuse has a great new head coach in Fran Brown. He's brought some guys in, but they, without their quarterback who left, they are, like you said, the bottom of the ACC. And I don't see them getting out of there. So it's going to be good for us and a chance for us to really, if we can be flashy, we can show off, we can draw. I think that'll make a difference. And then with the success of basketball, then maybe the conference talks will start again. But I think to be able to fundraise like you need as an independent, we're not going to be able to do so on a regular basis to be competitive. Right. And I do think it's going to end up catching up with basketball. I don't think they're going to be able to fundraise enough there. Maybe they will, but maybe they won't. And
winning probably helps basketball.
I wouldn't. Yeah. I don't think basketball is any worry.
No.
Yeah,
but, I think basketball. And basketball is always going to get the second most money. Yes. Of that $20 million. I mean, football will get the most by far, but men's basketball will get a pretty fair share. Women's basketball will get more than other schools, but certainly not more than football and men's basketball. And that doesn't leave much for the Olympic sports.
No, not at all. Not at all.
How does that all work, Joe? Maybe you don't know. When they came out with that whole the split thing and what you're getting, the $20 million. Like, is there, you could allocate it however you want? Like, there hasn't been any lawsuits or anything like that with
I mean, it's so new. It's so new, Shu, that I think lawsuits will come down the road. Okay. I think there'll be women's Olympic sports that
there is a Title
and men's Olympic sports that will, but there's like, you could give all of it to football,
right,
if you wanted, and tell the basketballs to go pound sand. They're not going to do that. Because and here's the other thing that people, I don't think people understand. Not every football player is getting money.
No. Not at all.
I think there was this thought that everybody's getting paid. Well, no, they're not. Just like when the NIL came in, the NIL money to Olympic sports programs is very, very limited. Unless a kid goes out and bangs out a deal by themselves,
right,
then the NIL money for Olympic sport athletes is a drop in the bucket compared to everything else.
Yeah, that's why you see so much done on social media for them. They try to do it with influencers and making videos and TikTok, and that's how they
see. Yeah, that's why you see every volleyball Division I girls team dancing on TikTok. I mean, literally over and over and over. Every girl's sport, that's what these girls are trying to do, because obviously they're not. There is. I mean, maybe they just want to be famous. I don't. It could be.
No, but right. There is one.
They're trying to generate some sort of deals for themselves.
I will say this though, Shu, having covered more women's sports in the past couple of years than I have back when I was doing the games on the radio, there's a certain aspect to the women's sports and even women's basketball a little, which is more in the mainstream.
Right.
But the women have more fun.
They do. They really do.
The women have a ton more fun.
Yeah.
Grizzled old people who don't have an open mind might think, what is this? But you go to a volleyball game, you go to a softball game, you go to a soccer game like I do, or a women's lacrosse game, they're having a good time. They're dancing on the sidelines. They're laughing. Men's games, you don't see that. Men's games, to use the line from my favorite book of all time, Ball 4, you can't pull a needle out of their ass with a tractor.
That's from a book.
Women's sports are so refreshing in the aspect that these young ladies are just enjoying themselves.
Is that because the emphasis on winning at the men's sports level?
No, I wouldn't say that, because when we have so many good Olympic women's teams. Our women's soccer team opened the season with a win last night. They made the NCAAs. Volleyball had their best year ever last year. Got to the NIT of women's volleyball. Right. Softball got to the NCAAs for the first time in 21 years. Women's lacrosse is always competitive.
Was hockey good
in the Big East? Women's hockey, went to the NCAAs 2 years ago and was real good last year again. No, it's not. They want to win as much as the guys do, but they just really enjoy themselves more.
Maybe their dads aren't as pressuring them as they are the boys.
Well, you know what? There could be 1,000 reasons. Sure, and that's
growing up. That's how it is.
That's one, but it's so refreshing to see.
You make a good point. There's a place I used to coach up in North Jersey. There was a girl who ran a soccer club up there, and I just see the stuff on Instagram now. And her club, those girls just have like such excitement of everything they do.
They love it.
I'm always amazed at how excited like their girls are about everything they do. Girls sports, I haven't coached girls sports in the longest time, but I used to coach both boys and girls track when I in the early 2000s, and they were two different groups of people. Like the girls wanted to hang out and like you said, laughed, or even though they were still competing. The boys, like when it came time, like they would, more be into taking naps and waiting for the next race to come along. And the girls were, talking to these girls from this team and that team. And, it was a different social aspect. That's what aspect. There's
Perfect word.
Boys are more isolated, even though they're in a team sport. Even if they're in a team sport, they're still more fixated on them than they are. The women seem to be more into a social aspect of it. Like that's where they generate their success. Like I saw a great. It was the head coach of North Carolina when you would know the guy's name. The guy who won all the championships back in the day. Yes, from
Anson Dorrance.
And is that the men? He was this was the 90s, and
I think he coached men, then he coached women. I think.
Well, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the Olympic coach too, I think, for a while. And he talked about it's definitely him, because he was at one time a men's coach, and then when we started coaching women, he tried to originally coach the North Carolina women like he coached the men. Get in your lines, and we're warming up this way, and just jump right into it. And the girls didn't respond; they weren't playing well. And then he let them kind of drive the warm up, which was a lot of high fiving, a lot of socialization as a part of their warm up. And the girls had great practices and started playing better. He said it was a totally different group of individuals is what drove them. And I just remember, because I was reading this whole thing about how he was about he thought it was one way being a men's coach, and now. But you're right. I think that is a big part of it. You're right. The socialization and being friends with other people, and
just not taking it
having a good time.
Just not taking it like it's life or death. If you lose, you feel bad, but you're not going to go back to your dorm, lock yourself in your room, and not come out till the next day.
Great point. Great point. That's
I just it's a different vibe.
yeah, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
Now, Joe, do you think that they'd ever get to the point where financially they would look to cut sports at UConn?
I don't. I think you can't because of time. You mentioned Title IX earlier, Steve, and
Yeah.
I think you know
If
you cut a woman's sport, you might have to cut two men's sports.
Right.
And you look at what we have up at UConn. Almost everybody else has more sports.
Oh yes, yes.
Because a lot of people, we don't have men's lacrosse.
Right.
I think one of the tennis teams went belly up, but I'm not sure. That might have been what was going to happen. But you look at, now a lot of these sports are archery or bowling or rifle or rowing. We have a great women's rowing team at UConn led by Jen Sanford, but we don't have men's rowing. We really don't have as many sports as other schools do. I don't think unless. Look, we were in a bigger financial crisis a few years ago. If there weren't any sports cut then, there's really no reason to cut sports now.
Right. And I didn't understand this at all. Did you understand Trump's executive order that he made towards the NCAA for third-party deals, for NIL deals? Allegedly trying to protect women's sports?
I respectfully will decline to.
I just didn't understand what it meant. What he was trying.
I had no idea, and
Okay,
to be bluntly honest with you, I could care less.
'Cause
we got a lot more things to worry, and it's the one time I'll ever make a political statement on this program. We get a lot more things to worry about than getting the Commanders go back to be the Redskins, getting the Guardians to go back to be the Indians. And
that's true.
And to worry about, I mean, the NCAA can be a shitstorm. We understand that, but they can take care of themselves.
The other thing that was announced, which I thought was cool, it was Skylar Bell and Cam Edwards. Hero Sports announced their preseason G5 All-American first, second, and third teams this week. Skylar Bell and Cam are this season's honorees. Both Bell and Edwards were named to the second team. There's 44 programs that they go through, and each team can have at least one representative. And I think you couldn't pick two better guys. I think Skylar Bell is a difference maker for us. He's our Randy Moss. Yep. Cam Edwards, unbelievable running back, and even splitting carries last year, having 800 yards with two other backs. I think those two are special. Keep them healthy and let them do their thing.
Well, and it's just proof that even at a school that's not affiliated with a conference, that doesn't have a preseason media poll to get publicity out nationally, I think to have players recognized says a lot about what the program's doing. I think we because of our status, we don't get any national publicity unless something goes horribly wrong, which is when you don't want the publicity. And nothing has. But I'm just saying, you don't have preseason polls, which again, I think are crap, but at least it gets a message out there. You don't have preseason media days.
No.
Where when we were in the Big East and even the AAC, national media would come to Newport, probably as much for the golf and the Lobster Fest as the football, but they would pay attention and they would write stories and do reports and stuff. So for these two kids to get national publicity, I think says a lot about A, them as individuals, but B, the fact that the program is still on the cusp of some national recognition. And again, much of that is due to the brand name. Is due to the name UConn.
We have a national brand.
If this was Florida International, these kids wouldn't have been getting recognized. If this was Ball State, or even Buffalo. These kids
Right.
wouldn't be getting recognized. But because it's UConn and we're on the radar 24/7 for basketball, people still understand that there's and I think because he coached in the NFL, I think Coach Mora generates publicity.
Definitely. I think that's
So-
one unique thing that UConn has is that you got an NFL coach, former NFL
Right.
coach, as your head coach. I mean,
Right.
definitely still when you're choosing between one school or the other at a similar level, that's a big draw. I think that's a big draw.
Oh, it's huge.
They still, I mean, even if they, are guys that go play are free agent camp guys, or they play in the CFL or play in the UFL, like there's no doubt that players weigh that as an opportunity beyond what they're doing. Especially transfers.
No question. No question. Shoot.
That is how, and he makes that call. And having talked to a couple of parents of kids that are currently playing, that's definitely one of the reasons why they've stayed at UConn. Versus when people dangle money right at some of your players. One of the reasons they say is like, well, if you're going to leave UConn and it's really not like, I get it if Alabama comes calling, I understand, but like if it's a similar level program or slightly above you and you leave, when you could have a coach that's going to be pushing you that already's been in the NFL could tell you, hey, you're a prospect. Like you're going to have an opportunity. And oh, by the way, I talked to a couple of my buddies and say, hey, bring this guy into camp. And you're brought into camp. I haven't been in Asia for 6 years. There's no doubt that that's what happens because there were guys that I knew that were coaches in the NFL that if I needed to get a guy into camp that was on the borderline, at worst, they'd bring him in for a mini camp and they see if he was good enough. And it was, no, as long as the guy wasn't a headache, it was not. It was, and that's Mora can do those kind of things. And a lot of players today's day and age, they definitely value that. And Mora can do those kind of things, get them other opportunities. And shoot, coaching is now an opportunity too. So. That wasn't, when I was coming out, like, I remember Nick Rapone, like I said to Nick Rapone, I said, I have one more year of grad school, should I maybe GA and coaching? And his first words were to me, do not. I said, he said, listen, you'll be divorced. You'll be, and I love Nick. I'm still friends with him to this day, but and he's still obviously coaching with the Buccaneers. But it wasn't the financial opportunity that it is now. There is a financial opportunity that they can get in. So Mora, no doubt, can help you in a lot of different capacities.
Yeah.
Just in football, not just counting. Obviously he has connections and probably in business world, but everything within to do to football, and that's a draw for UConn. So,
were you Cully's agent? Is that why you got out of the business?
If I was Cully's agent, there'd be zero money to be made.
No, we'd have a Subway deal at least. We have a Subway and a Starbucks.
Cully would have been what we would call a high mids client. You'd have to stay with Cully,
a lot of high mids.
Make sure everything was okay.
Starbucks too. Starbucks and Subway. It'd be good.
Oh, God.
That's all I want. That's all I want. I was looking at one other thing. The defensive line, the defensive backs, the linebackers. It's really the defense that is the main concern. But the one thing, like you said, Joe, Coach Brock has been a godsend and done a wonderful job putting the pieces together. And they do have just a massive roster.
Right.
They have 12 days to figure it out.
Yep.
I think he's got a plan, and I think he is going to put this group where they need to be to have success. And I think it's much better that taking nothing away from Central, but I think it's much better for us that we're starting off against a Central Connecticut State as opposed to a Maryland. And hopefully we can get this off on the right track and make a statement that first game. Make a statement.
No question. No question. I mean, you're looking, and again, like I said, the first time UConn played New Haven, they got beat 13-12 when New Haven was a Division II school back in my first game on the radio in '92. I don't think you were there yet, Shu, but it was an unmitigated disaster, to lose at the time.
That was my first year. That was my redshirt year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an unmitigated disaster to lose to a Division II school. Now, nobody knew how good a coach Mark Whipple was at the time.
Right.
It turned out to be a terrific coach. But you can't ever tell. We've seen sometimes where the Division I AA, so to speak, schools have come in and they'll play hard. You can bet, and Central will play with nothing to lose. But for Central, it's also a chance just to get ready for their conference season, because their goal is to win their conference. But you're right. I think it's important to make if you play a 23-20 game with Central, you'll have no confidence going into Syracuse, and you have the public wondering what the hell's going on. If you beat them 50-0, then you get, you should have beat them by that score. But inwardly, you have confidence going forward.
Exactly.
Next week of practice.
Exactly. They're going to have that confidence as opposed to last year going down and just getting beat up by Maryland. It was just a bad taste in your mouth to start the season. I think.
But they recovered. They recovered from it. And again, with the schedule, and we hate to harp on the schedule, but it is a point. With the schedule, you can go to they could go to Maryland, get their tails beat in, and still come back and have a great year.
Absolutely.
So
So even starting 2-1, if they did happen to lose to Syracuse, they still have the rest of the way.
So Syracuse is not supposed to be very good this year, because they were 10-3 last year, right? So they were.
No,
but they were picked 12 again.
Okay,
I'm doing something I hate, but they were picked 12th in the preseason poll.
Wow, interesting.
In the ACC.
No, Joe, Dave, I'm here, and
I didn't follow. Maybe they didn't have as good a recruiting, or
everything that has been reported is they're not going to be nearly as good as last year. They don't have, obviously, losing the quarterback from Ohio State, the transfer. They tried to replace him. He hasn't been great. They don't have the skill positions that they had from a year before, the running back position, and it's just a tough schedule in the ACC who they have this year.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
but you know what? One thing I will say, boys, is that I think to show your growth this year, you got to win either at Syracuse or at Boston College.
100%.
You got to win. Those are your two toughest road games. You don't have to get both, but if you get one, even Boston College is down, but we've never won there. If you win on the road at one of those places, that shows a lot to me in how you've grown.
100%. 100%. That shows growth. That shows progress. That shows everything that we need to really make a statement. And I'm going to be at the Syracuse game. We were a series away from tying the game and possibly beating them last year. We hung right with them. I think we can play with BC. And if we can just get one or two on the road like that, I think it changes the entire dynamic.
Well, I think it changes the perception.
Perception for sure.
You can't go undefeated?
I think it's possible. No doubt.
They hit it
you
right.
Trying to go undefeated?
Can they go undefeated if they hit it right? I mean, like with the schedule they have?
No shot. Because you're going to get injuries along the way.
Yeah.
And as much as they're deeper at some positions, you lose QB1.
Yeah.
You're not the same team. Yeah. You as much depth as you've got at the running back spot, if you lose Edwards, then you're not as good. If
Right,
Bell goes down, then your wide receiver room isn't as good.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think I don't think
You're right.
I don't think undefeated's in the realm of possibility.
You're right. You're right. 'Cause
But like
we're
I
not-
said, 8-4 should be the floor, not the ceiling.
I agree.
Agreed.
Ceiling could be they could go
Could be
10-2.
Could be
They
10,
could go
right?
10-2. They could be
Yeah.
if you lose at Syracuse and BC, you can run the rest of the table.
Easily, I think. Like it.
You should go 6-0 at home.
Right.
I don't want any excuses about officiating or anything else. You should go with this home schedule. You should go 6-0 at home.
I think we only have 5 home games.
No, we got Central, Ball State, FIU, UAB, Duke, and Air Force.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. For some reason, I thought we had 5. Great. All right. Then good. I think we'll be money.
I think 6-0 at home. You can do that, no problem.
And I think that'll hopefully bring the people out with an exciting brand of football. And
You go
that'll
6-0 at home and 3-3 on the road. You get to 9 wins and get to a bowl game. Then you're doing fine. You've had a real
2
good
years
year.
in a row. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, the return of the man himself, the icon, the best of the best, the voice of the Huskies, Joe D. Thank you so much for your impressive return. We're thrilled
Always good to
have
be
you.
with 2 of my brothers.
Yes. And I didn't make any mistakes. How about that? I got
Steve,
through
you
one-
could make a million mistakes. It doesn't matter.
That's great to hear. Coach Schumann, tonight,
Oh, yes, tonight. Yes.
9:00,
Yeah. 9 o'clock.
9:30. Okay.
9 o'clock will be fine.
You will be good for 9? Okay.
Should be good.
All right, good. So this has been Husky Huddle for the great Joe D, who's back with us. Coach Schumann, he's saying yes to greatness. I'm your host, best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back.